hope you've had a really great week so far. I've noticed that I've been getting a lot of questions about anatomy and proper alignment, which is great news for me because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. So today I'm going to go over just two of the most popular requested poses and stuff. So first one that we're going to talk about is forearm stand, or anything having to do with being on your forearms. So think dolphin, think forearm stand, anything like that at all. Even forearm plank, this is going to affect that. So for a lot of people, poses that require that type of rotation is really uncomfortable just because you feel like you can't get your hands flat on the floor. So it feels like you're restricted and you feel like, what do I need to stretch in order to be able to get that alignment to be correct, right? Well, before you even try to fully flatten the hands and fully get that rotation inward, I want you to check something first. So basically you have two different types of things that can restrict you in a yoga pose. You have what is like muscular tension, meaning the muscle itself is a little bit tight and it's actually preventing you from getting the full expression of the posture. The other thing that can prevent it is compression, meaning your muscles have stretched to their capacity and now you've reached the point where you're basically moving bone on bone. And that will not change with yoga practice. There's nothing that you would have done to cause that. There's nothing that you can do to change it. It's just the way your bone structure is. So that said, do a little test here. Just sit comfortably, sit easily, or you can stand, it doesn't matter. But I want you to make sure that your shoulders are relaxed. And go ahead and bring your elbow in towards your ribs and just turn the palm upwards. So I want you to really focus on keeping the shoulders still. So even putting like your left fingertips on your right shoulder and just make sure it stays down as we do this one. So just slowly start to turn the palm down toward the floor. So keep the elbow in and rotate the forearm down. So for me, I stop here. I cannot move my hand any further, and you can't tell, but I'm trying pretty hard to get it to turn further down. It doesn't necessarily have to go further down, but this is my full rotation, okay? So some people, I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to lift just to give you kind of an illustration, but some people can rotate the hand all the way around, and their thumb might point straight down toward the floor, so they're really mobile in the elbow joint. And other people may end up about here, and they can't go any further than that, so they're a little bit less mobile. Now, any of these situations, good or bad, is up for debate. Sometimes it works in your favor that you're tighter, sometimes it works not in your favor if you're tighter, and vice versa for being more mobile. So what does this mean? Basically, the elbow joint is going to dictate, or the elbow is going to dictate how far you can rotate down. Now, what will stop it isn't necessarily tension in the forearm. So if you get to a point and you're like, okay, feeling a little bit of a pull, a little bit of a stretch, muscular tension. For me, I turn down and I literally can't go any further. I don't feel like my forearm is tight. I don't feel anything that feels like muscular stretching. I just feel like it's stopped, right? So to give you a little bit of anatomy behind why that is, that would be compression. And you have two bones in your forearm, and they are more or less parallel to each other, something like this for easy illustrative purposes. And as you start to rotate that forearm down, they will roll over each other and they stop at a certain point. So let's say maybe if you have very slight, small little bones in your arms, they can roll over each other pretty far and you can turn that hand really far down without a problem. Maybe if you have larger bones or your bone structure is just different, they don't roll over as easily and they're going to stop, they're going to hit each other before you can turn all the way around. So where might this present itself? Any type of forearm stand where you feel like I can't put my hands down, any type of forearm plank where you can't put your hands down, or forearm stand or forearm, dolphin, anything like that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Moving on. The second pose that I want to talk about that gets tons of questions all the time is downward facing dog. And we run into similar, I don't know if I'd call it a problem, but we run into a similar picture, let's call it. So commonly, people want to know, how can I get my heels to touch the floor? This is driving me nuts. I mean, I feel like I'm working so hard and my heels just never touch my mat. So you have something like this, where you are doing everything that you possibly can to get the heels down, and they just will not touch the floor. Again, you have kind of a couple different scenarios that are happening here. So I'll go back to that in a second, but if you're in your down dog, your heels are off the mat. By the way, let me just say that having your heels on the floor, it really doesn't matter, and this is why. So if your heels are lifted, one of two things is happening. First thing could be muscular tension. So meaning when you're trying to get your heels to the floor, your calves and that Achilles tendon right behind your heel is on fire. It feels like you're stretching and it's really tight, so it's really uncomfortable and it's preventing you from getting the heels flat. That's scenario one. Scenario two is maybe what you would have guessed already based on the last thing, is compression. So it means that your muscles have stretched, and it's not the muscles that are restricting you, but it's bone-on-bone contact. And you'll know it's compression because A, you won't feel any stretch through the calves and through the hamstrings. You'll feel like you're pretty stretched out. You don't feel that at all. What you may feel in the case of compression is you may feel something in the front of your ankle. So for example, if you, even if you can get your heels to the floor, it doesn't matter if they're lifted or if they're flat, once you hit your compressive limit, you'll feel that in the front of the ankle more than likely. So, okay, my calves are fairly flexible, so my heels will touch relatively easily, but as I start to push further and further back, I get to a point where I don't really feel it in the backs of my legs. I start to feel it right in that crease right here, and that's because my ankle, the bone for my ankle, is hitting the bones in the top of my foot. So that's kind of an easy way to tell if maybe I'll be able to get my heels down one time, or one day, even though it doesn't matter at all, or maybe you won't, and that's just because that's the way you were born. It's the shape of your bones, the way your bone structure is aligned. Yoga didn't do that to you, and yoga isn't going to change that structure. So keep in mind that whether you have hit your compressive limit or you're just tight muscularly, that these are some of the reasons why you might be feeling differently in some poses. So I'll just end on the note that I think it's really important for you to be open to the possible anatomical differences that your body is presenting to you. So what we have determined in the yoga world as standard alignment, or what it should look like normally, most of us are going to deviate from that at least one point or another. So be open to your individual anatomy. Don't beat yourself up about these things. At the end of the day, you always want to do what feels good. So thanks for stopping by. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see next if you've got any questions. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys back here real soon. Have a good day.